Today, what I thought we'd do is, it's 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today, what I thought we'd do, normally my cohort Bill is here and we kind of talk back and forth. Oh, Melissa. Melissa, I've never done this before. I'm going to allow you to talk. So I hope you're ready for that. Melissa, you have talking.
Hi there. Can you hear
how
me?
are you? Oh,
I'm
yeah.
good. How are you?
Good. Good to hear a human's voice.
Yeah, good. Well, I had you on our big TV in our conference room, so I actually couldn't talk until I unplugged from the TV. So.
Very good. Now, did you have a question or?
Oh, I didn't. I don't know what I don't know what I did. So you said my name, so I typed hi there.
Okay. And what'll happen is if anybody has questions, you can raise your hand just like Melissa did. So I'm going to go ahead and mute you again, Melissa. And then if otherwise, you can type in the question and just type it right into the little box. But what I thought we'd do is just cover, this is a marketer's response. And I don't know if I was clear about that in the copy that we sent out, but this is just what we've been thinking about as we've gone through, oops. Darn it. Let me start this again. Sharing. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Oh, because it's the very end. I'm going to run backwards really quick. You're going to get the backwards view. Okay, so this is just what we were thinking, right? So this is like marketing in a crisis. So what do you do when things are changing, right? The economy's changed. It's suddenly it's not the 2020 that we wanted, but it's the 2020 that we got. So no longer are we allowed to be face-to-face with a lot of people. So we've got to do this new social distancing. And so we're doing our social distancing and the future's uncertain. So what is it that we're supposed to do at this time, right? How do we generate business? Are we allowed to generate business? So these are the thoughts that we've had going things. So this is one team's tale. So this is myself, Sarah, Bill, we've been going through this, and we're going to talk about the process that we've been going through as we've been dealing with the coronavirus. So that's Sarah's little representation of a marketer dealing with the coronavirus. So I'm going to give you a few 30,000 foot ideas. So that's usually where we like to start, is we like to start at a high level and just kind of outline a little framework that we can think inside of. And then we'll give you a few of the tactics that, a few tactics that I've suggested to a few people that we work with, as well as tactics that we're messing around with right now. So if you have specific questions or there's something that you want to talk about, again, use the Q&A. There's a Q&A tool inside of Zoom. As everybody gets to know Zoom, it seems like everybody's getting more savvy with Zoom. And then, or you can just type your questions inside of there. So let's jump into the 30,000 foot ideas, right? So these are just broad ideas to keep in mind. And the first thing that we want to talk about is getting out of our own head. Then we'll cover what we're calling going to the niches. My wife, one of the things that we're doing as we're catching up on things is we're covering movies that we have not seen. And my wife had never seen The Godfather. So we're not going to go to the mattresses. We're going to go to the niches. And then we're going to cover It's Time for Digital, baby. So that's my Austin Powers impression. So get out of your own head. Things have changed, right? So the path to the future, we had our path that we were on, and then now we know that that's changed, right? So the easy thing to do is to focus on that change. Like, what is this? What are we going to do now? How are we going to now that we're deviating from the path that we were on, how are we going to get back on track? Or is there a new track that we need to build inside there? The easiest thing we found is that, like most people, the first thing we thought of is everything that we could do internally. And so the big change that we've been trying to work on is getting out of our own head and trying to focus on our customers' changes and deviations. So why is this important? So it's important to us because if we're not careful, we get too wrapped up in what it is that I can hear the dog coming. We get too wrapped up in what it is that we are trying to do. And when we turn on our empathy and we start thinking about what others are going through and what's happening there, it does change things. And it changes how we are going to be approaching our business going forward. And that's really what we do with the next part, right? So if I can stop thinking about what it is that that I'm going through, what it is our business is, the changes that our business is facing, and start thinking about the changes with other people's businesses, it's a lot easier to do marketing, right? We're good at it anyways, but it's a good reminder not to focus so much internally. And so what do? The first thing we do is we start to niche out our database. So by narrowing our work, narrowing our focus. Are you guys all working from home too? So by going to the niches, narrowing our focus, we can get a lot more done with just in a few places, as opposed to trying to do everything. So the way we start there is we just started with taking a look at all of our customers by industry, and taking a look at all of our products and services that we're offering, and trying to break them into just a real simple quadrant, good or bad. So right now there are bad customers for some of us, right? So if we were doing business, I was just actually talking to my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law runs a restaurant. And so if you were trying to do anything besides help him fill out his SBA paperwork in the last 5 days, he would be bad. So if you were selling him anything, he's more on the bad side, bad customers, right? It's not that he is a bad customer. It's just that right now, when I'm thinking about him, he's not open to any new ideas, not open to anything that new that might help his business. Oh. Is that turning off? Sarah, do you see this? I could see your computer screen. It's on the last slide. I apologize for whatever is happening. Let me do this again. Can you see that? Thank you. Now, do you need me to go backwards on this at all? Okay, so by going to the niches, right, we're starting with the good customers, bad customers, and leaving things behind. There are certain products or services that maybe don't fit. And so which ones are those, if any, that we can label bad? That's on our side. That might not fit with customers, what we're working on right now. And what is it that are good? And so by focusing on those things, by trying to niche ourselves down, we can get a few more things done. So again, high level idea. It may or may not be useful. It's useful to us because it starts to center us onto what are the things that we can start working on. So for instance, one of the things that we started doing is we had a new hiring plan, a new group of people that we were going to bring on board. And there was a lot of activity behind making sure that their first couple months were pretty productive. That suddenly became a bad product or service to us. So it allowed us to cut that off and then get focused on the things that we can focus on right now. So the last part is it's time for digital. If you haven't been doing it right now, I don't know if you've been getting a lot of these, but it seems like in the mail, I've probably gotten, I think I got like 5 this morning. There are these webinars. I guess I'm doing one right now, but we're doing them. Everybody's doing them. The time for your email list, I'm hearing from people that I haven't heard from in forever. My joke was Wingstop. I don't remember ever being at Wingstop, but I've gotten a lot of information about Wingstop's COVID-19 plans. There's the people are reaching out on the list, and some of it feels desperate, and a lot of it feels like it's very me focused, is what I'm seeing when I read through it. I think to myself, oh, this is all about what it is that you're doing, but I'm having a hard time translating it into how it impacts me. One of the challenges with that, and we'll get into it, is that's that broadcasting. So right now is a good time, if you haven't been doing it already, it's a really good time to get back and focused on digital. So what does that mean? This is a little graphic that we had used at Lead Gen Compass, but it's all about how do you get people to, how do you get your target market to reach you? This is a good time if you've not been working on it. When we get into the tactics, we'll talk about that. It's a good, this is a time to focus on it for the next month or so, as long as this is going on. Because the question is, where are all those good people, the people that were, that still fell onto the good customer side that we should be marketing to? And where are good products? Where are those meeting online, if anywhere? Where are they finding those things? Because people, we do know they are online as we're going through it right now. Does that make sense? So I was going to cover a few tactics along those lines. So if the big three are, focus on our customers, right? That our customers, even if we're doing empathetically stepping ahead, right? What are our customers going through, and what are our customers going through, and how is that impacting the business? Yeah, we've got to deal with all of our stuff internally, but if we can keep the focus on what it is, how it is that we might be able to help them, that's going to serve us best. How do we niche ourselves out, start to break it down into, instead of just doing everything for everybody anymore, where is our best opportunity to actually do some help with the right products and with the right market, and then focusing on the digital piece of things. With that, we'll stick these ideas in here, which is these 5, right? Who's got voicemail? We'll start spreading the news. We'll write and push. We'll bury our old stuff, and we'll lighten the mood all the way through. So using Sarah's toilet paper rolls, we're gonna, those are the tactics that we're after right now. So let's start with the first one. You've got voicemail. One of the places, probably some of the first people that we talked to were the people who were used to using door-to-door or face-to-face selling, and they were trying to pull back in. So they started calling our list group looking for help with lists. And then inside of help with lists, it's what are you going to do with these lists? Well, we're going to have to start calling. It brings us all the way back. So I started my career way back when in telesales. So we use the phone almost primarily. And one of the things that we did is we got really good at voicemail. And the trick to voicemail is to treat it as a radio ad, and to treat it as something where you can make the next contact a little bit better. So for instance, if we're trying to, a radio ad that is anywhere around 30 to 40 seconds long is 120 to 150 words. As marketers, we could be helping our salespeople, anybody who's doing outreach right now, they're probably still getting voicemail. Even though, as you'll see, one of the things that you can make suggestions to them on is this is probably the right time to get rid of the auto attendant and go back to getting somebody to answer the phone if possible inside of your business, because people are starving for a little bit of contact. I was joking with Sarah before, we're on Omaha's kind of locked down, so we've been, the only thing we're doing is we're walking the dog, and in walking the dog, invariably one of the neighbors will see us, and then it's driveway to street talk. But you just get this overwhelming sense. I told her, it's like when I talk to my mom sometimes on the phone, I can't get her off. Like she's just coming up with the next topic to keep, but we're starving for attention. We should be doing the same with our radio ads, is helping people with that. And I'll show you what I mean in a bit. But if you're going to leave a voicemail, make sure you leave your company name. Don't leave anything. And then see if you can give them some instant value or advice. So why is this here? This is here because marketers are the best at this. Salespeople, as much as they would love to be great at it, they tend not to be as good at coming up with this thing. And your goal is to get them something that's snappy that they can say, and then help them actually say it. So if we can add some instant value or advice. So for instance is like right now, I'm going to leave you a voicemail. It's Greg. I'm with Lead Gen Compass, and we want to help. I'm calling because we want to help. We are thinking about you. For instance, this would be advice that I could give you. In times like these, it helps to have a live person answering the phone. And why is that? Because people are starving for contact. I'm going to call back on it, at this particular time. A 20 to 30-second message, people will listen to those. It's always been a great way to get the word out about your company. when we started a new company in Omaha here, we were selling computer training. And that's really the way that we got the word out is we left a ton of voicemails. We announced our presence everywhere. And it took about a year, but if you think about those as just radio ad impressions, it was a very targeted audience. We knew who we were calling. And we were giving them that broadcast message. But we had to be very specific with the salespeople so that we got the most out of it. So there's an idea, there's a tactic that's along the lines of inside the 30,000 foot view that we had thrown out there. Number two, the second roll of toilet paper is start spreading the news. Press release and press mentions. If you haven't been doing this, this is a good time to get back into the habit of doing it. Help a Reporter Out is a free source. Get Quoted is a free source. And these are reporters that are looking for story help, where you can get your business can help with the quoting. And then PR Leads is one that we've used in the past. The guy's name is Dan Janel. He's great. It runs, I think it's about $100 a month, but he gets some different sources. He tends to get a little more like the Wall Street Journal, Fortune Magazine, some of those show up inside of PR Leads. But we've had some success recently with Get Quoted. We've gotten a few clients who've been quoted and Get Quoted. Harrow, Help a Reporter Out, has always been a little like you're going to end up on somebody's blog, but it's a great way to get started with the practice of responding with ideas and responding to reporter requests. So if a reporter is making a request, like what to do about, what advice do you give small businesses during tax time? It's a good, if you're an accountant, it gives you a good chance to start exercising that muscle of what is some pithy, some compact advice that I can give and write it down and sound interesting enough that I can get quoted. They could either take the quote exactly as written, or they can call or email back for a little bit of back and forth on those things. So start spread the news. We should get back into the habit of doing those. And then Dan also has, in addition to PR Leads, he has this guaranteed press release service, which is helpful. We've used it when we've when we're desperate for links because we're trying to build up somebody's search engine optimization. It's a way to get those things done. And he's got a service where he helps write those press releases for you, because it is a skill. And so if, again, as marketers, usually you're pretty good communicators and you're pretty good writers. And so you should be able to write these things down, and you can find a lot of resources online, but there's people that can help you get these press releases out. And right now is a chance, as newsrooms are dying, but people's desire for news, the desire is increasing. Somewhere in there is a way to get this news out. Facebook audience distribution, we've had success in it. If a guaranteed press release, paying for that, I want to say it's like $300-400 per release. So it works. Facebook ad audience distributions work just as well, if not better. You can take your email lists, you can build an audience inside of Facebook. You can do the same with anybody who visits your website. You can do some lookalikes. You can build an audience inside of Facebook that is like an advertising audience, and then pushing press releases out to them through this, just as links, like a link back to your website with some news like this, is a way to, again, increase the awareness in your target market of who it is that you can go to. And the nice part about this is, as opposed to some of the push that's been happening right now, where it's a little off message, or maybe sounds a little bit too business like me oriented, this stuff naturally by itself, since people are already looking through the news for other information, it works pretty well that way, and helping just keep the name out. But in the end, right, it's all about the audience. It's all about how is it that you're helping them. The best press releases that we've ever done have usually been because we can target it to a geography, we can target it to the publication's audience, and something that is helpful to them, and useful news that's helpful to them or to a reporter. And all this helps kind of put you in the mood of what is it that my customers are looking for. And if you're really struggling with that, then pick up the phone and give them a call, because they'll tell you what it is they need help with. And then it's a little bit easier to craft some of these responses. So that's number two. If number one was, what was number one? Number one was voicemail, helping your team with the voicemails that they're leaving. Number 2 is press releases. Number 3 is a little bit along the same lines as the press releases, and it's content marketing, right? So if content marketing, if you haven't been doing this, now's the time, right? It's time to go digital, and now's the time to start. And the easiest way to start with content marketing, if I'm going to define content marketing, it's we know that people are asking questions on search engines, right? They're looking for how and what. We just did a campaign where for dairy farms, for our US farm data side. And on the dairy farm side, when you type in the word how or what, you were finding just hundreds of times that people are asking the internet questions like, where are the biggest farms, dairy farms in the US, things like that, that they could use our data for, and we can craft content around that to help with it. But if you don't have that available to you right now, the best place to start is really with questions. And the best place for questions are salespeople or whoever's answering the phones. And those questions, if people are actually calling up and asking, there's dozens, right? It used to be that, what was the old stat about the complaints, that if somebody was complaining about your business, you had to assume that there were 10 people who felt the same way. Right now, if anybody actually calls and asks you a question, you have to figure that there's at least 10 people, if not 100 people, that have been on the internet asking the exact same question. And what is the answer? I know that when you ask the reps, the first thing they're going to say is, oh, the only question I ever get about is price. So you have to work around that. Like, what else are they asking besides how much everything costs? And even there, is there any information that we can give them to help them ballpark what costs are or how to think about costs going forward? That's good content, and good content that we could put out on our website. Or most importantly is probably take our internal list and push this content out via email. Right now, the number of people that are waking up and remembering that, oh yeah, Greg Chambers is on my email list, and I'm going to start by giving him what my COVID-19 news is. There's probably other questions and other ways that they could be helpful to me besides telling me what their policies are. I guess I'll give Wingstop a break because maybe I was looking for takeout from Wingstop and I need to know their curbside pickup process. But it would be better if they reminded me of what it was that I had ordered from them or something along those lines. That's the type of content that we can start pushing out. If you don't have a MailChimp account, right, we're thinking about digital, now's the time to get back and start with that free MailChimp account. Now's the time to, if you need to upgrade those services or get more from it, by all means, call us, we can help you with that. But this is the time to take content, find questions that they've been looking for, and then help them by pushing it out. And if you're going to push things out, going all the way back to the niches, it does help if you can, segments are better than broadcasts, right? So broadcast is the default that everybody thinks about. But if there is any way to segment by customers, is there any way to segment by, like we said, the good versus bad, or focus on the people who are can benefit from a particular product that fits our new normal. Those are, you're going to get a lot more from those, and pushing out information, pushing out news, pushing out content to them via segment than you are on the broadcast side, trying to hit everybody with once. It's okay to send a group, like we've got lists that are 12, 15, 20,000. Our best response usually comes from the ones that are in the sub 100 group, because we can usually tailor the content directly to them, which makes sense. So write and push is the other thing that we're going to be doing. So what happens if you've been doing content marketing for a while and you have a website going, or you have an old blog that hasn't been touched in a while? We're going to talk about burying the old stuff. So this is a search engine optimization tactic, but it's a good one to do right now. So if you already started on content marketing, now's the time to jump into your analytics and start to review some of those unvisited pages, the dead pages that nobody seems to be clicking on anymore, and refreshing them, right? So if we know that the more new content that we push out onto the websites, the more the search engines like Google will come and figure out what's going on your website. So if we take the old stuff out, I'm a big fan of just killing it, hide it completely, or refresh, rewrite, resubmit it for SEO. So something that was relevant in 2014 may still be relevant today, but is there any way that we can update it? It's an easy way to regenerate new content. And it also gives, maybe you've gotten smarter along the way where you have some better terms to target over that time. So again, this is like dead pages. For a lot of websites that are 100 pages deep, when you go look at analytics, there's a good 20 or 30 pages that have not been visited. Might as well put them back to work for you. And since we have a little extra time, is there any way that you can take that content, and does it apply to the audience that is a good audience for us right now, or support some of our good products? If not, I'm a big fan of just killing it. Yeah, it makes your website smaller, but when you put the new content out there, Google will come back on a more regular basis and see that the changes are being made. So bury your old stuff. It's a good time to do that right now. And lastly, I'm going to throw out lighten the mood. The news is heavy, and I have a feeling. I was talking to a merchant today. So Sarah and I had a long conversation before you guys got on here, because we haven't seen each other in person for over a week, right, Sarah? 10 days now. The news is heavy, and I have a feeling that it's pressing down on our psyches as much as it is on our wallets. So shared experiences like this, when you really think about it, right, it's rare that there's a worldwide event that's happening that we can all share, and that it's impacting us all in some way, shape, or form. Lightening the mood, what I mean by this is, there's no sense in not referring to it, right? But it doesn't always need to be news. It can also be about this ridiculous situation that we're in, like how is your dog doing with Zoom? Mine is, he finally fell asleep. He was pacing. It's hard to be funny. So I know that part of lightening the mood is funny. Funny is hard because it doesn't always hit the right notes. But self-deprecation is usually a lot easier and is a pretty good go-to. So anything, I think of anything that people can share about work at home with the right audience. Again, my brother-in-law with his restaurant, it was a little more lighthearted today, but certainly 2 days ago, there's just nothing funny about what he's been going through. But now things are maybe turning around, and he's maybe in a little bit lighter mood, so we can talk to him. I guess the important part to me is we're all human, right? So we can act like it and remember that this is probably not permanent. Things are going to change. And so in the between time, as marketers, what can we do to help prepare ourselves? I think these are, right. So I guess it's really like, it's 4 good things, not 5. And then lighten the mood is more of just another, it's probably a higher level thing going forward. So, but I'll give myself a break. I'll say the toilet paper part is that self-deprecation does work on there. So I'm checking to see if there's any questions. By all means, you can share them or ask them at this time. Sarah, am I still on track? Is this making sense? I kind of feel like, I don't know how you guys feel, but I kind of do feel like I'm a little bit in la la land. Even though I do these all the time. You know what it is right now, though, is I'm missing my sidekick, Bill. It's a lot easier just to go back and forth with him. So what now? So okay, all that sounds good. What now, Greg? What I would start with is the segments. I would say that, right, the good, the bad, customers, products, and services, that's a nice internal exercise. And then from there, thinking about what it is that they're going through, right? So the good, if we're going to just niche, we're going to focus on that niche right now. Let's do that. The other thing we can do is internally, we can start gathering questions. What are all the questions that people are asking or that they've asked in the past? And then along those lines what are the ones that we wish they would ask? So if we think about our content in that format, we can start with, we know that people are asking these questions, but the higher level question are these questions over here, the things that we would ask ourselves, right? If if my brother-in-law is asking me a question about online marketing, what would I tell him? I try to help him at a higher level than the stuff he's going to get by the questions that he would ask. I'd say, like, ask your marketer, your marketing agency, these questions and about these things. It'll help him sound smarter and get more out of it. And that's the content that we can start putting out, because that's the content that people are looking for. And then the last thing is get in touch, right? It is, we're starving for it. We need a little bit of humanness out there. So get in touch. Phone calls. I've been on the phone a lot. Emails. I've been trying to send a lot of emails. My favorite subject line right now is WFH, WTF ? So a little work from home humor on there. But it's interesting. Not all markets are struggling. So there's a few people that are having some success and really feeling good about things. And so find them, and you can find out what it is they're thinking about by getting in touch with them. It goes a long way down the road. So let's review this. Things have changed. Oh, here's a Q&A. What if your potential clients are not online users? So this is a question from Annie. Good question. What if your potential clients are not online users? What other avenues would you recommend to reach out to them throughout the US? So right now, the people who we're helping that are not doing online, right? So Sarah was just telling me before, designing postcards. So we've been using the mail system. The mail still gets through. Packages are still being delivered. So we do recommend direct mail. And as a matter of fact, I can tell you that the number of solicitations I've seen, this is anecdotal and it's just me, but in the last week, the solicitations have dropped. So now might be a time where a message gets through to them, and then phone calls. So we're getting a lot of phone calls, phone call action. So you got to get on the phone with them, and then that's the way that I go there. Does that mean good? Yep. So you are good. Telemarketing, postcards, email. Oh, and then email, right? So Sarah is reminding me that we're also doing email. I always struggle with email, but if your customers aren't online, I assume they're getting email. So you can maybe reach out to them via email too. So I hope that answers your question. If you have another question, you guys can use that Q&A there too. So back to the review. These are the big ideas, right? Is that it's deviated from the future, but in that deviation, we need to not be so focused in on what's happening to us, but if we can take that out and as marketers, right, let the executives focus. Hopefully you're not all of these parts, but you could pretend if you do it all, if you're just a solo person, the marketing part of you is really focused on what it is that your customers are going to go through and how is it that you can help them do the niche segmenting. It's always been the best way to grow a business anyways, is by niching it out and focusing on one segment. The other segments tend to fill in behind it. And so where is our good audience still good? And then what are our best products to take it out to them? And then online. So it would be interesting. I don't know what it is that you guys sell that people don't go online, but for a lot of businesses, we do see that the online, especially that question and answer thing, people use search engines so much so that they don't even think of it as using a search engine. The kids are on there. Working with farmers. Yeah, so the farmers, now with a lot of our farmers, we do have some success with the online part of it and tracking them around. And with that, so I'll give you another audience you can think about is finding them. We've got, since farmers have that challenge of, right, it's a business and they're business owners, but they're also consumers and they act like consumers. And so we're kind of in between, and then they're working in the field. But on the field, there's still, we find smartphone usage. So we do have found that we are able to reach them obviously there's the mailing, the postcards, the emails, but we're also the, with cookie tracking. So we've matched our audience to some ad networks. And then on those ad networks, we can peel out where it is that they're going when they are going online. And that way your ad is showing to them at the time. Does that make sense? So that's a part of how we can find those people online. Most people are online in some way, shape, or form, and we can help them with okay, good. And we can help them with just brand awareness. So yeah, it's really, really early in the sales cycle, and then tracking that activity, the actions, the conversions is hard. But by raising awareness, right, we're kind of starting on that AIDA and at least moving a little bit down there. So yeah, so online. So what are the tactics, the toilet paper rolls that we threw out there? Voicemail, marketers helping with the scripting is what we thought there. Start spreading the news. People are looking for news somewhere. Can you, now's the time to start stepping it up and getting quoted, writing and pushing more content out to them. And, you know, mailing that content, it's been a long time since I've gotten a physical newsletter, but for a long time, those were great ways to get industry information out to people. It is an expense, but it's a little bit easier to track when it comes to conversions on that. Burying the old stuff online. If you have content that is not being useful on your website, feel free to scrap it or update it and refresh it and resubmit it to the search engines using your sitemap through Google. And then lighten the mood, right? Everybody is going through the same thing, taking it in different ways, but sometimes just sharing that, yeah, we're totally aware that we're all going through this together is possible. So if there's any more questions, feel free to ask or raise your hand if you want to talk to me. But that's it. So thanks. If we can help in any way, we'd love to. As we say, we have a bunch of different ideas. We talked to a bunch of different businesses and a bunch of different industries. And so, but you know, we've been applying this to ourselves internally too. And it's been working to a degree. It's a little weird. Okay. Chat question, thanks. Okay, thanks a lot. And have a great rest of the week. And tonight's my wife's birthday, so we're gonna go, well, I'm gonna cut out early and go for a walk. Okay. Thanks a lot, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Oh, I'll send a recording too.